Thank you so much, Bob, for agreeing to come on the podcast. I'm so excited to have a chance to talk to you again. How's everything going? How's life going?
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having me. It's going good, very busy. We have a lot of stuff planned, and you are part of that, and something we have coming up.
Yes, I got a chance to chat with you when we were talking for a big summit coming up. So excited. We can talk about that later. But it's been such a joy getting to know you and getting to know how it is that you coach in relationships. And so something that I thought would be really great is to have you on. Now, I did a little intro before so people know about you, but I'd love to hear in your words. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your passion? Why is it that you're a relationship coach?
So I started off as a therapist in the hospital, and I loved learning all the stuff. And I know we talked, you were talking about attachment and those things that brought back memories of all the things we would deal with. But then when I went to outpatient, there was a couple of clients, and they were in their 30s and had relationship problems. They just couldn't get married. And my first thought was, compared to schizophrenia and stuff I'd seen, I didn't say this, but I thought, how hard could this be? I mean, I was young then. But they were really struggling. And it was a major heartache for them. And then the stuff that I had learned and taught about what's going on internally and how much that affects relationships or gets in the way, they responded well to that. And one of them happened to be a hairstylist, and she told everyone. So all of a sudden now I'm seeing all of her friends, and that became my specialty. I like working with them, but it was almost like they chose me instead of I chose them. And I've had results ever since then, and just really enjoy clients, and especially once they have the breakthroughs that you and I get to see with clients.
It's just one of the best parts of really being able
Hmm.
to do that. And I love how you also kind of fell into it in a way where you just kind of found this natural way, this niche that you have where you're able to talk about this stuff and help people, get them to hear you in a way that helps them. And so you work specifically with women. Is that right?
I am.
That's great. And you wrote a book that said the title is The Woman Men Adore. I
Hmm.
love that title so much. And so, because I want to talk about that, I really want to talk today about what is it that men want, right? Like, let's hear from a male perspective. I talk to women all day. I'm a woman
Hmm.
myself, and that's all I know. But I know in the work that you do, you often talk to women about being able to be themselves, but being able to also be soft in that, not in a fake way,
Hmm.
not in some sort of, I think like not in a game playing way, but just to be truly soft. Can you talk us through that?
Yes, and I've appreciated as we were talking last time about how you emphasize authenticity. And one of the examples I give women is I said, imagine if there was a little girl and she could be a stranger and she was sad or scared. I said, what would you do with her? I said, I don't have to give you a script. You'd probably take her by the hand. You'd maybe sit down next to her. But whatever it was, you'd be authentic with her because you would just care about how she felt. But if your heart was a little girl and I could go inside your mind and listen to the way you talk to yourself, I would probably hear things like, why are you complaining? Don't be so weak. Don't be so needy. Don't show any emotion. And I know this because in one of our programs, the Campfire program, what is part of it is doing a journal online, and I'll go in there and read with them. And I'm amazed at how harsh women talk to themselves. I mean, I kind of
We
knew it, but
really
after
do.
reading this, I mean, I
Yeah.
was just blown away. Because if they ever talked to their friends that way, I mean, they would just be mortified. And when they do that, they don't realize that that sort of erects these walls that come up. And that gets into attachment styles, it gets into coping skills. And they think they're keeping it all secret, but they're really not. And it shows up. Men can feel it. Men just don't necessarily know how to describe it really well. Something seems off with them.
Tell me more about that. Like, how does that show up in the relationship? What is the man kind of feeling or sensing?
So, in general, when a woman is, I don't mean like flat, but when she's guarded or she emphasizes being strong, she
Mhm.
emphasizes not being weak. Nothing wrong with strong, nothing wrong with being responsible. But the problem is something painful will come up or something she doesn't like. And so, as not to come across as weak, I'm going to act like that doesn't bother me. I'm not going to complain. The problem is the signal that sends to a man is, oh, that didn't bother her. And he assumes she's fine. And what I tell women a lot is, I said, you're giving him the wrong impression that you're tougher than you are, that you're stronger than you are. And I said, I know you can
Mm.
be strong, but I don't know that you want to have to be like that all the time. like
Can we
bringing
stop
work.
down on that real quick? I want to hear you say that again because I thought that was really powerful. You said we're giving them the impression that we're tougher than we are. Gosh, that was like that gave me chills. I thought that was really powerful. Please keep going.
No, so I mean, I'm glad you can feel that because that's really what I'm after is for someone to feel it. Because as a man, that doesn't make me think less of a woman. I mean, oftentimes I'll have clients and they'll start sharing something really painful, especially when I was at an office, and they would start crying. Now, I get it. They're embarrassed to cry, and they're embarrassed to cry in front of a man. And most of the time they will say, I'm sorry. And I learned after a while to say, sorry for what? I'm crying now. And I would always tell them, I said, your crying doesn't bother me. I said, if anything, I'm flattered you feel safe enough to cry in front of me. I said, so I don't view it as a weakness, and my impression of you doesn't change. But they've heard most likely from others, don't do that. Don't be weak. Don't. And as though there are parts of them that are bad. There are certain emotions that are bad they shouldn't feel, just like being hungry could be bad for some people, or being scared could be bad. Well, sometimes, scared is really helpful. Sometimes scared keeps us safe. And so that sort of detaching from who they are versus who they're supposed to be, that gap men feel, and it feels disconnected. It's not so much that she's awful, it's that it's hard to feel close to her, that
That
she
makes
may be
sense because you're
fun.
not being vulnerable. You're not really being yourself. But I also see it from the woman's side because for so long, we are almost taught that men don't want to see our emotions. They want us to be these perfect little women, these, perfect little picture, perfect things. And if we cry around them, if we do have an emotion, then all of a sudden we get this negative feedback that says like, you're too much, you're difficult, you're annoying, so shut it down. But I think the difference, and I think we're both saying this, is that it depends on the emotion that you're bringing into the relationship. Right. So if we're constantly complaining and crying to our partner because we don't feel loved or we think they hate us or we need all that reassurance, yeah, that is a little bit clingy and needy and it leans into that anxious attachment. But
Well, I
we're
was going
talking
to
about real emotion. Please. Yeah.
yeah. So no, with what you're saying with the real emotion, because what I've told them is I said there's no good or bad emotions. That's like saying there's good or bad hunger, or there's good or bad sleep. I said it's there's no good or bad. I said, but what men pick up on, and you brought up a good example, is when something, they don't say it this way, feels disproportionate. So if someone is complaining constantly, usually I find that's the result of things accumulating. So something bothers me last week, I don't do anything, continues to build, and by the time someone complains, they're full. They're not a complainer. They've just stuffed it for too long. And what was small to begin with now has become bigger because they have to take more and more stuff to push it down, push it down, push it. I see you nodding your head.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah,
me.
because the more you push, the more you push. I think a lot of us know this analogy, but right, it's the beach ball thing where it's
Yes.
like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine until I'm not fine. And the next thing
Um,
I'm blowing up at my husband
mhm,
because because he didn't put his shoes away and he
mhm,
stuck them in the hallway again. And I'm losing my damn mind on this man.
mhm,
Right. But that's because I didn't say anything the 5 other times or the other time when he didn't maybe kiss me goodbye for work or the times when we haven't been on dates for 3 weeks. So all of this is building. I'm afraid to have an opinion about that stuff. And so I take it
yes.
out on the shoes.
hmm And then if I take it out like that, now I feel bad. So I start the process all over again of restuffing and restuffing. And then we all do magical thinking. This is not just women I'm saying this to, but then I'll magically think there's a man somewhere that's going to understand me, who I won't have to do this with. I see you smiling because you talk with this all the time.
Yeah.
And this is not judging. I mean, men do this same thing just in a different way. And there is no hero to rescue us from that because that becomes a father. Or if it's a guy,
Oh,
that's a mom. And that's what a father's supposed to do. When my daughter was 3, I'm supposed to do that kind of stuff. Overlook things, be the bigger man, because I am the bigger man. I'm dad. Don't want to do that with a partner. And vice versa. Women don't want to be a mother to the
yeah.
guys they love.
I never thought about it the other direction, but us women, we're looking for someone to come to save us, to heal us, that father figure to kind of come in and just protect us. Many of us haven't had that. growing up. Many of us, had the fathers who put us down or told us to stop crying or left us or
Mhm.
worse. And so here we are seeking this in men. And then when they're not perfect about it, or they're not exactly what it is that we needed, because they're also human, they're
Mhm.
not going to be perfect. They're also
And they're
autonomous
men.
beings. And next thing
Mhm.
you know, yeah, this I see this a lot in disorganized attachment, is a thing called flaw finding. And it's not just like, what we see in Chandler on Friends, where he like looks at people's noses or moles on
Mhm.
their faces. It's like deep
Mhm.
stuff of like, oh, he
Mhm.
he never puts his shoes away, or
Mhm.
he leaves his coffee mug, he leaves a ring on the coffee table every single day, and it pisses me off. This is flaw finding. This is just
Mhm.
ways in which women are constantly pushing away this really beautiful man in their life because he's not saving her the way she thinks she needs to be saved. And so I think
As
this
you,
is such an important conversation to be having.
no, I like that when you talk about qualifying. I don't think I'd
Mhm.
heard that before. That's very interesting, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking of someone we've got a Facebook group, and she's finally found the guy. They're about to get engaged, and she makes a post, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, help me!" Because all of a sudden I'm scared to death. This is, and you can see what's coming up.
Mm.
It's the only man that can hurt her is the man that gets close, not the guy that's unavailable. He can't hurt her because he's not. So she can long for him and wish for him and fantasize. But this guy's showing up. He's stepping up, about to buy a ring, and she doesn't know what to do with it because going back to attachment styles, she's afraid he's going to leave her like all the
Mhm.
other men have. She's going to, and she's looking through those lenses. And some of the normalizing is you're going to be scared when you meet someone wonderful. Let's normalize that. That's supposed to happen, where you're not going to have no doubts. The person you love is the one that can hurt you more than anyone else, that there's no getting around it because you trust them. Doesn't mean they will, but they could. And
Mhm.
I liked you talking about that talking it through part of actually being intentional about, no, this is a good fit for me. This is something that's good, even though it may feel unfamiliar because he's not treating me like dirt. Or I'm not having to wonder all along when he's going to, call again or when he's going to text.
Yeah. And that part can be when we're used to that. Like I was just used to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was used to dirt for so long. I think I call it like trash pizza, right? Which is like if you are
Mm-hmm.
starving for so long and you don't know where you're going to get your next meal from, and you've been starving for weeks at a time, and somebody comes along and brings you pizza out of the trash,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to devour that thing like it's the greatest thing you've ever eaten. But you don't realize
Mm-hmm.
that you have the potential to go out there and have a 4-course meal somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to learn how to get to it yourself. And so, yeah, we talk about that a lot, which is this idea of like not settling for trash pizza, right? Not settling for that guy who doesn't text you back, for that
Mm-hmm.
guy who doesn't take you out to places or makes you plan everything. That's not
Mm-hmm.
settling. Settling is, maybe he's not as tall as you
Mm-hmm.
wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, he drinks his coffee with a lot of sugar and you wish he, would get a little bit healthier, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are little things. But the big things, we have to really be mindful of them. We have to really look at our relationships and find what are those things and what are our non-negotiables. Now, do you work with that with women at all? Do you really try to figure out what are those things that you should be, standing up for? And what are those things you can let go of?
I do. And what we do with and I use the same term non-negotiables because I think it fits so well,
Mm-hmm.
is we do as an exercise because I think they're different for each person. There's the general stuff, a guy that's faithful. Someone will put, I want a guy that's not going to hit me. I'm like, I'm going to give you that one. I mean, maybe that's your pet, but that should be a standard.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but they're usually unique to you. And we have them brainstorm for a couple of days and write it out and whittle it down. And then we go into, these are qualities that I consider like above average. So is kind a big deal to you? Yes, we'd all like someone kind, but is for you really important that he's kind? Or is it strong? Hopefully every man's strong, but I mean, like, is that a big deal? I've got a buddy that was in the Army. He's Mr. Ranger Danger. If you want to feel safe, just be around Greg. Now, is he going to be the best listener? No. Doesn't mean he can't listen, but he's not going to be like what I do.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that. So that's not his strong suit. And I want a woman to know this because this is how a man's going to show off for you. This is how he's going to impress you because he naturally does it. So if someone likes a good
Mm.
listener, I'm your guy. Someone likes someone that's always on the lookout for danger, that'd be Greg. And once we know those, what those three are, what I ask him to do is I said, let's keep dating someone, or at least give him a chance until we know he violates one of those. Because I'm trying to get them away what they call intuition, which isn't really intuition. Yeah, see you
Yeah,
shaking your head.
yeah, this really tracks with something I teach as well. So keep
Mhm.
going.
Well, no, I'd like to hear what you.
Yeah, no, it's that. It's I do this as well. We talk about our non-negotiables, and yeah, not the obvious, like, no
Mhm.
cheating, no hitting.
Right.
I even could say, if you want to have like no smoking or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
what are
yeah.
those
Same thing.
those big
Yeah, yeah,
things, like maybe no yelling, like
yeah,
whatever. I honestly
yeah,
don't
yeah,
mind a yeller.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
not
And
doesn't
see,
bother
that's
me.
true because some women that's not a big deal to. That's
Yeah,
why I just tell them, yeah, yeah. But that's a great
yeah,
point.
and
Is
the
that?
same thing, like, I don't mind if my husband is friends with his exes. It's just
Hmm.
never bothered me. These
Hmm.
are things that don't bother me, but if they bother
Yeah.
you, that's okay. These are
Yes.
your
Yeah.
non-negotiables.
Yes. Mhm.
So, and then I get this. This is the question I get all the time from women, which is like, when will I know to keep dating him? Because I went through this as well with my husband.
Mhm.
I tried to break up with this man like 20 times. The entire course of the time I was dating him because I was still healing my attachment style at the
Mhm.
time. And I didn't understand how good he was for me. He was
Mhm.
boring in my brain. He actually showed up when he said he was going to. He treated me really well, and my little disorganized self was like, I can't handle this. This is too safe. This is too
Mhm.
secure. So I kept trying to break it up. Like, well, how do I know? I don't feel those butterflies in my stomach.
Mhm.
How do I know what that intuition is? And that's when I learned butterflies are a trauma response.
Mhm.
Butterflies, with all of these other toxic men I was dating, was me just trying to, as we talked about, fulfill, that father figure, that person
Mhm.
that's going to come in and save me, or in a different way, someone I'm going to earn my worth through.
Oh, so
So
you mean someone I'm going to resolve past injuries with this current
with this,
relationship
yeah,
now?
if I can get you to
Ah,
love me, then I've won. Right? If I can get you to love me, if I
yes.
can figure you out just
Mhm.
perfectly and
Mhm.
know exactly what you need and what dinner you need to eat and what I need to do and how I need to do all this stuff sexually, like, right, if I can figure that out and you love me and you stay, then I'm worth it. I'm
Mhm.
worthy. Right? But we hear that and you hear that
Mhm.
spoken out loud and it makes me want to gag now.
But that's part of the power. I love the idea of speaking out loud, which I like. We talked the first time about how you would speak stuff out loud and how much that empowers someone. Because I know
Mhm.
just keep it in our head, we can create monsters just without even realizing what's going on.
Yeah, there's power in just speaking it out and really kind
Mhm.
of speaking that truth and really speaking up to say, hey, look, and listen, this is what's happening and it's okay. But when it comes to trying to figure out, I kept dating my husband until he crossed one of these non-negotiables. So I love that
Yes,
you do
I
this with
love that.
women.
I love that
Yes.
because
I think
that
you would have been a great coach for me
I
back in the day when I was dating him.
no, but you get it because
Yeah.
I found that works better than anything else till our brain and heart catch up together to
Oh,
see, okay, is this because if he's not good for you, let's don't stick it out. That's not good for him either. But you said you wanted someone, I don't know what yours were, but
mhm.
um, probably resilience one of them if he stuck with you, even
Yeah,
but whatever the call.
compassionate,
Gosh,
communicative. For me, it was communication. I needed to be
yes,
able to be myself
yes,
and be able to be seen without being put down by that.
mm-hmm.
And this man, I still can't get over how much he
Mm-hmm.
just embraces who I am. Like, it's weird to me sometimes. Like, sometimes I'll get mad at him
Mm-hmm.
because he just unabashedly accepts me. And I'm like, you stop accepting this.
That sounds like Chandler.
That- I've always related with Chandler. Let me
That's
tell you, I'm
funny.
a very avoidant woman. Yes.
But see, I like how you describe that because without that authenticity with yourself, you wouldn't have known that. And that's vulnerable to do that, but that actually helps us get what we want. That's a perfect example you just gave is
Mhm.
knowing that about myself. I have this tendency as opposed to I have to kill that part of me, make go away. No, I've got this tendency. I can work on it, continue to work on it. But if we can put our arm around that part of us instead of trying to kill it, then it calms down. Then
Yeah,
it's, oh,
talk me through that more. How do we embrace that part of ourselves?
hmm.
Like, how do we love that part of ourselves?
Yes, so let's go back to something we were doing earlier. Let's pick anger. I think anger is the most powerful emotion, at least it's the most scary for a lot of people. And we'll distinguish between anger and a temper. So a temper is what you do with it. Temper's bad. Anger is just a feeling, powerful one, and it's there to let us know someone's hurting us or they're inadvertently hurting us. And so part of embracing it is I have permission for all of my feelings, just like you would do with a little girl, just like you would do with clients, just like we would do with our sister or brother within reason. I mean, we don't. we still accept our closest friends, even on good days and bad. And part of that acceptance is that I can feel anything because what I feel is not who I am. I mean, if I get angry, my ears don't get bigger. If I get sad, my nose, I mean, I don't change who I am. It's just my feelings go up and down. And the reason why I want women to be good at this, especially with anger, is I want a man to see you angry because what he's used to is going to be different with you. Because I want him to see you angry and just what you said, angry, and you're safe. I want him to you be furious with him with something, hopefully not much, and him wait for the something to get thrown or screamed at. And when you don't do that, he'll say, "Is that all?" So you can say, "Yeah, well, I'm mad at you." That's how he feels safe with you. Oh, that's what you do when you're angry, as opposed to never getting angry. That does not make him feel safe. That makes him, oh my gosh, what's she like when she does get angry? Or what's she like when she does get sad? We want him to see this and see that you'll be okay. I mean, you can blubber. I'm not making fun. I mean, but you can just fall up like this. But men aren't used to that. Well, if a man does that, the world's coming to an end. So I want men to see this and the women to be able to show that to them. And if they practice with anger primarily, that's one of the fastest ways I know to practice that self-love and acceptance.
I love that. So what I hear you saying is show that side of yourself now, especially in those early stages of dating, because it's really going to be able to see even if the two of you mesh in how he handles your anger.
Mhm.
So give the anger properly. Like, I'm frustrated with you right now, and not push it down and push it down and push
Mhm.
it down. So it does come out blubbering. It does come out as throwing things or walking out or slamming doors or passive aggressiveness. But if
Mhm.
you can just honestly give your anger to a man,
Mhm.
both of you are going to feel safer in that relationship, because if he can be a safe container to hold your anger and you could be a safe space to not blow up at him completely. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Mhm. So when you're saying this, I'm thinking about you're a good example when you say, "Look, I'm bubbly, I'm full of energy, and that's who I am." Now, you didn't say this, but I'll fill in the gaps. Do I have to keep an eye on that at times? Sure, but anyone's gift you have to keep an eye on. I mean, someone
Mm,
that's really funny at times is going to stick their foot in their mouth. That's just going to happen.
it's
So
true.
maybe they have to keep an eye on that some, but let's don't, throw the baby out with the bathwater and just stuff all that. And so if we're doing this with him and I have permission to be angry, then I want him to see that. The other thing is I want both of you to see is the way he deals with anger something I want to deal with. You alluded earlier about I don't care if someone screams, and but see, you know that about yourself.
Hmm.
That's what, and see, without any anger or awareness of it, you're not going to know that. So it's obviously you've taken a look inside. Then you don't have to guess as much because you know it's not a good fit. I'm assuming just been ignoring you all the time would just drive you bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point. Because if you're feisty, right?
Mhm.
I love working with feisty women, because I
Mhm.
think for so long we've been taught, be smaller, don't take up
Mhm.
space, stop being so much, all of
Mhm.
those kind of things. And so I love working with those women and being able to tell them of like, yes, my over the top nature, the fact that I can like literally bounce into the house like Tigger, and I'm just like jumping off the roof and I'm talking about all this
Mhm.
stuff and I'm interrupting my husband, and I
Mhm.
have ADHD, so it's like I forget the things he says and I never pay attention, and he adores this part of
Mhm.
me. I've had past partners who have literally made fun of me, who have told me, "Oh my God,
Mhm.
like, do you seriously have to be this much right
Mhm.
now? It's 6 a.m." Like, no, like that. When I heard that back in the day, I thought, they're right. I need to fix
Yes.
myself. I need to change who I am in order to win them over. So I love all of this. It's not even just about the best parts of yourself, which is what I help teach women. What I think my favorite thing I'm really hearing you say is show those maybe not so pleasant parts of yourself too.
Mhm.
Show the parts where you get angry, where you
Mhm.
cry, where you break down, where you're sad, and let him help you through that.
Yes. And what you said is a good point because, like, if you have a past partner that's putting you down, what I love about the emotions is that whatever I try to get women to be in touch with, not precisely, but is that sad? Is it embarrassed? I'm like, and when you're feeling it, that's a cue to slow down. Just don't. I know you want to think. I get it. I do too. Slow down. Just slow down over here because that doesn't feel good. And as you feel that, you'll realize I don't want to be with someone that's going to do this. So feelings are always faster than thinking, always. And a lot of times
Mhm.
we can't figure out what we're feeling. So the tendency is like I'm talking faster now. I want to just over here. But if I slow it down, I'll catch up. Now you figure this out, obviously, but that was a perfect example of that feels awful. That feels sad, overwhelmed, mean, embarrassed, whatever.
Mhm.
Because if your little girl, if we do it that way, was feeling that, you'd listen to her and go, "We don't have to be with him.
Yeah.
We don't." Or I'll say something, whatever. You have no trouble standing up for her.
Yeah, I say this a lot, and I ask because a lot of my clients will have children, and so it's like, okay, if you had your little girl, if you had your daughter, and
Uh,
you just watched a man treat
oh,
her that way,
where
what would
have
be
you
happening
been?
in your
Where have you
body?
been? You're speaking my language. That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, would you not want to punch that man in the face?
Hmm.
Like, right? Like as a
Yes.
mother
Yeah.
protecting her little one, like
Mhm.
you would look at that man and be like,
Without a
honey,
second
run.
thought, without
Yeah.
any thought of guilt
Like,
or, oh
don't
my
ever talk to my
gosh.
daughter that way.
Yes. You, and no
Hmm.
apologies.
But yet, all of a sudden, someone says that to us, and we're like, "You're right. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I am too much. I will fix that, honey. Please. You know." And then,
But the encouraging part is that they know how to do it. Just because with your example,
Mhm.
if you can do it with a little girl, part of you knows how to do this. Because I
Exactly.
get a lot
Yeah,
that will say, I don't know how to do it. I'm like, yes, you do.
you
I
do.
have to, I have to know them to say it that way. I'll say, but you do. You know, let me borrow your daughter. Or just, this won't take but 1 minute.
Yeah.
And instantly you can, like the hairs on the back start to rise. You can see kind of like that face you made. It was like,
And all of a sudden, yeah, and even if you don't have a daughter, you know, if you're listening right now, you're like, oh, this isn't resonating with me. Then think of your bestie. You know,
yeah,
you would never,
it's,
if you were on
yeah.
it, like if you were third wheeling, you were out at a date, and your bestie was sitting with her partner,
Mhm.
and he like turned to her and was like, "Do you really have to sing that loud?" You know, like if we're at a
Oh,
bar or
yeah.
something like that, you'd be like, "Excuse me, sir," like.
That makes me cringe just thinking about it.
I know, and yet it happens, and I see these women, and something you touched on before I want to bring up again, and this is a big thing that I'm trying to get women to switch their thought process here, because oftentimes they'll come to us as coaches and they'll be like, "But why is he doing this? You know,
Yes.
why is he treating me this way? Like, why is he talking to me like this? Why does this keep happening?" And I just want to encourage these women to flip that script, and instead of asking, "Why is he doing that?" ask yourself, is this what you want?
I love that.
Mm-hmm. And
I
it
love
goes
that.
along with what you were saying about with
It does.
non-negotiables. And
Yes.
the hardest part is I ask, is this what you want? And they're like, well, I don't know, because they don't know what they want yet. Right? They don't have their identity sorted out. They just think, oh, I need someone to love me. And as soon as that person loves me, then I'm complete. But that's
And
not how
that's
we find a relationship, is it?
no, at least that's not what I've seen. And to your point is good. I've had so much more success once we dial in what's a good fit for someone. Some of them want to just jump in. I get it. They're going through a crisis and let's solve that. That's fair. But otherwise, I don't know how to help you find what you're looking for if we don't, because what I don't want to do is base on intensity. Let's don't do that. Or what they call intuition, a lot of times it's a substitute for intensity. I tell them, I say, look, I'm intuitive as a therapist or counselor because I do this all the time. But as a mechanic, I'd have no clue. My intuition would get the car to break with what I would twist and that's it. So intuition's based on knowledge and familiarity. We can be intuitive with people we're married with. We can be intuitive with family members. But new dates early on, I mean, pay attention to how you're feeling, but let's be careful about the interpretations. He smiles, so he's really kind. Maybe, maybe not. He may just have great teeth. But our brain projects that onto someone
Mm.
because it feels good, right?
I love this. So intuition over intensity. So intensity is that kind of that butterflies in our stomach
Mm,
feeling, right? That trauma response that we have. That's our attachment patterns.
yeah,
I see oftentimes if after 2 dates you're sitting here telling me he's the man for you, I would tell you to run as fast as you possibly
right,
can. Because
right.
that's what I hear you say. And I love this
Mm,
intensity.
mhm.
And that's what that intensity is. If you have a lot of intensity going on in your body, then check that, right? Just
Mhm,
keep an eye on it. Because instead, what you want more is a little bit of a soft knowing,
mhm.
right? I will often say, intuition. Intuition we can sit on for eons.
Yes,
Intuition we can sit on for
yes,
hours, days. It doesn't. Do
yes,
you think he's cheating on you?
yes.
Okay, fine. Intuition states you lean back and you wait and you
Mhm,
see and you figure things out and you ask questions and you're calm about it. Intensity, I love this word now, right?
mhm,
Or that feeling of like, oh my God, he's cheating. I gotta go
mhm.
look at his phone. That if you get that
That's
intense need, that's where we have to calm back down.
yes. I swear like we've written each other's notes because
I know, it's so
I've
that's
said
why I
that
love
same
talking with
thing
you.
because that's the intensity. I always tell people, and I use the same word, to wait, because if it's intense, I got to do something now. And it feels just like
Mhm.
a feeling, but a real feeling doesn't mind waiting. Your point is perfect because it doesn't mind. When I worked in the hospital, there's a reason why when someone goes in for suicidal or something, we make them wait 48 hours because we know after 48 hours, for the most part, it's not going to be as intense. Just
Mhm.
time alone does it, and it keeps us from making bad choices, which is why, like with the breakup, we don't want to be calling them right away. We don't we don't want to be doing anything. You're going to say stuff you're going to regret. Maybe there's a chance to save this, but not if you go in there guns blazing with fear, demanding or whatever, or men, going in there begging, pleading. Don't do that.
Mhm.
Don't. It's not
No,
to make fun of. It's just I'm scared and I'm overwhelmed, and that's not the most accurate thing. So I
I love
love
that.
that part about waiting, like you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I think that's so good. Well, as we're wrapping up our conversation right now, and we've talked about so much good stuff, please let my listeners know where can they find you? Because if they're out there right now and they're listening to you and they just want to jump into your program or to whatever it is that you have to offer, I really want them to be able to go and do that. Because the most important thing here for anyone listening is that you find what you need to heal yourself. Because if we all can keep healing, no matter if that's with me, if that's with Bob, if that's with anyone else that you know, what it looks like is we all start healing and we all start getting better. And that's a benefit for everybody. So please let them know, how can they find you, Instagram, socials, all that.
I appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun being here. If they go to relationshipheadquarters.com, that's got access to all our socials. I'm Bob Grant. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. Same thing, Bob Grant, Relationship Headquarters. And if they go to Relationship Headquarters, I have a free 15-minute evaluation. And it's not just to see if coaching's for you. If there's something simple we can solve, we will. It's a chance to find out just real specific about what's going on. What can we do? Just like when Jen and I were talking here, it's more important to know what someone really wants or needs more so than just here's my widget or here's my thing. Let's just give this to you. So if that speaks to you, I'd love to get a chance to meet you.
I think that's a great idea. I think everyone right now, go and schedule one of those 15-minute calls with Bob. If you get an opportunity to talk with him, his wisdom is just, it's outstanding. I highly recommend it. I also know that he has a free guide, which is what men find irresistible in a woman, that I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and put a link in the show notes as well for anyone that wants to grab that, because all of this information is going to help you find that partner in your life that's going to enhance your life and really lift you up, which is, again, just my passion and my mission in life is to help as many women as possible find this. Thank you so much, Bob, for coming on and chatting with me today. And I can't wait to talk with you later.
Thanks, Jen. I enjoyed being here.
Take care.